Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Katie Sacra, Director of Family Programs here at the GFPD, and I will be your moderator for tonight's webinar, Fundraising 101, Small Steps, Big Impact. We'll be taking time to answer questions at the end, but please go ahead, submit your questions at any time throughout the webinar. You can do this in the box located beneath the webinar player window, or I'll be monitoring the chat box with assistance from Ryan Maple, so feel free to use the chat box. You can submit questions there, or again, the Q&A button also at the bottom of the webinar player window will let you do it anonymously if you'd prefer. We have an amazing panel tonight with our Director of Development, Madeline Bryce, as well as GFPD parents, Todd and Corinne Chapman, Kelly Hobbs, Sarah Keir, and Vicki Mag. Our first panelist, Madeline Bryce, holds a bachelor's degree in political science from the University of Kansas, an MBA from the University of St. Mary. She oversees the GFPD's fundraising strategy, goals, and performance to further its mission and sustain long-term growth. Thank you, Madeline, for being here with us tonight to share, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Katie. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I am so glad you are here this evening. I am so excited for you to hear from our remarkable families who have taken up the mantle and have done their own family-hosted fundraisers. I am so proud of the work they've done and have continued to do. A little bit about me. As Katie said, I'm Madeline. I'm the Director of Development. I'm in charge of fundraising. I want to make sure we have the funds needed to make sure we can fund more research, have amazing programs, and keep growing the GFPD so we can help as many warriors and families as we can. A little bit about me. As you can see from some of the photos on your screen, I love going outdoors. I love to travel. And you can usually find me collecting plants. And there's about 10 in the room I'm in now and a few dozen in my entire house. So the fastest way to my heart is through a plant. And I'm connected to the GFPD through its co-founder, Melissa Bryce. I babysat Ginny when she was little and over the summers. So I've been so inspired watching the GFPD grow through the years. But let's get started with fundraising. And I promise you, fundraising is not that scary. I promise, I promise. And if you still feel like a little intimidated by the end, talk to us. We're here to help. So why do we need donations? Well, they help us support all of our programming and get great research. And how do we get people to donate? Well, the easiest way is by asking, because if we don't ask, then it's an automatic no, and no one's going to help. But we ask through grants and these fundraising events, which you'll hear about later in the evening. And every gift of every size adds up and does make a huge difference for us. Donors want to feel how we all want to feel, like what I'm doing, my actions today are making a difference. And I know they're making a difference because Todd and Corinne told me that because I participated in Tee It Up, that we funded more research. Or when I went to the Great Massive E-Seek and went on the super fun scavenger hunt, oh my gosh, that helped us fund the conference in 2024. So they want to know that when they're making a difference, big or small, how we use their gift. How did we leverage their generosity to make the biggest difference we can at the GFPD? And usually once we get folks donating, they say, you know what? I want to get involved. Is there a way I can volunteer? Can I sign up for something? Can I help connect someone to maybe my work? Because I know they like to do employee fundraising. Maybe that can help. So we want to bring people in and bring them into our community. Everyone wants to feel like they belong. So what are ways available for people to donate to the GFPD? There are quite a few options. So the tried and true way is to mail in a gift. So you can see on your screen, you can write a check and drop it in the mail. We have a lot of online options. One of our newer initiatives is monthly giving. So our Hope Hero monthly giving club is great. So for folks who may do small but mighty gifts, they add up to a big impact over time. Many employers will do matching gifts. So when you make your donation, they usually have like a 1-to-1 gift or a 1-to-half donation, and they'll match it at the end of the year. So your gift can go twice as far. And of course, one of our most popular ones is honor and memorial giving. So many people may give in honor and memory of a warrior, of a friend, of a parent, and it's a beautiful way to honor their legacy. And of course, we have donor advised funds. Those are a special fund. So in Tulsa, we have the Tulsa Community Fund, and people will donate, set up their donor advised fund, and then they will issue grants to a nonprofit. So I set up the Madeline Bryce Advice Fund, and I say, I want to give $5,000 to the GFPD every year. And so I just set that up on my end, and the GFPD gets a tidy sum of money. And for our folks who are well seasoned, like a glass of wine, if you're 70 and a half or older and you have an IRA, you're able to make qualified charitable distributions. So instead of your IRA distribution coming to you, you can choose to elect some or all of it to be donated to the GFPD. And all of these details we'll touch on later on our resources slide. And of course, what we're here to talk about is events, fundraising events. So whether you help put an event on, you're hosting it yourself, you attend one online or in person, it's a great way to get involved. So when we're thinking about types of fundraising events, there are three kinds you can think about. So an online fundraiser, very low lift. The GFPD can make you a donation link, and then you share it on social media. And that's it. You can have it run for a day. You can have it run for the year. On the other end, you could have an in-person fundraiser. So we all get together and we go on a 5K and people pay to register and it's a one and done. But you can get some more local investment because it's in person and there's a physical presence. Now, what's been most popular with a lot of our families is the hybrid fundraiser, where there is an online component and an in-person component. So that can look like maybe there's an auction that's online and you can donate online, but we're also together on the putting green. So there are a couple easy ways. Oh, pardon me. So when we're sharing for online links, Facebook is a great resource, and I know it's very accessible for folks. And we would love to encourage our community to start touching base with us and requesting a special donation link. And the reason why we do this is so that we can gather donor information, so we can say, thank you for your gift, and send them their tax receipt, but also keep them updated on the goings on of the GFPD. And it also helps us ask them again in the future. So we know they donated to Vicky's Kenna's 16th birthday fundraiser. And we said, oh, we know some warriors are having their birthdays coming up. Maybe we can pull them in for that, or we can pull them in for pause. But to do that, we need to have their email or their phone number or mailing address. So if you're thinking about doing something online, give us a shout. We would love to share a link with you. And you don't even have to manage the link. Like, we can build it all for you. So you don't have to plan a giant gala today. There are a couple easy ways you can dip your toes into the fundraising world. Just like and share posts on social media. If you see a birthday fundraiser pop up, if you see, oh, Todd and Corinne were posting about Tee It Up, let me repost that. Let me like Great Mesa BSeek, or share a TikTok of Hope with Low. That engagement is huge, and it helps tap into connections that the GFPD doesn't have. You can also join us on our Day of Giving. This is brand new. It's an online event, one day, February 28th, Rare Disease Day during Rare Disease Week. We are all gathering together to raise money to support the GFPD. So you can scan the QR code on your screen, like, share it, donate, share the donation link. But you can also share flyers in your community. One of the new resources we have is a simple 8.5 by 11. You can print it off at home, has a QR code, so you can share it at work. You can have it in your bag. You can have it at an event, so people have a simple donation link. You can also participate in an event. And I hope some of these families really inspire you, whether you like their post, donate online, or if you live nearby, get involved as a volunteer. I can't wait for you to hear more directly from the people who are making this work happen.
Thank you so much, Madeline. And also, if you can't access that QR code for any reason in the chat, we have also supplied the link that matches up with that QR code. Next, we will hear from Sarah Kier. Sarah is mom to GFPD Warrior Lola, also known as Lo. In addition to serving as treasurer on the GFPD Board of Directors, Sarah is also Chief Marketing Officer at Condado Tacos, a fast-growing restaurant chain with 50 locations in 10 states. Together with her husband, Jake, Sarah co-founded Hope with Lo in 2023 to raise awareness about peroxisomal disorders and secure funding for research. Sarah, I appreciate you being here with us to share about Lo and Hope with Lo, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Hello. Hi, everyone. I am Sarah, as Katie mentioned, and I am excited to share with you about the fundraiser that we started. So, we started Hope with Lo in 2023. And just to give you a little bit of background on like what was going on and what spurred us actually starting the fundraiser, Lo was around the same age as a GFPD warrior, Jaylee, and Jaylee's mom had very generously just recently sent us a pair of shoes and a little card and a stuffed animal. And we had received all of that stuff, and Lo, I think, was 3 at the time in 2023. And I had just given birth to Lo's little brother, Mills, who is not affected by Zellweger spectrum disorder. Mills was a month old, and Jaylee passed away. She was 5 years old. And it really hit me hard. And I think it was just the common, like, these, if you're a parent, if you're connected to this community, anytime that one of our kiddos passes away, it's incredibly hard, incredibly hard. And this one was like excruciating. I was like up all night at the time, breastfeeding, and just felt like I was living through the death of my own child, watching Ashley process it. We were messaging at the time. She was posting on social, leaving the hospital without her daughter, the hospital bag that never got unpacked, things like that. And it was like terrible. And I wanted so badly to do something to make a difference. And Lo at the time was doing really well. She's gone through like bouts of having, long hospitalizations and like her own struggles, but at the time she was really healthy for her. And, it kind of came, honestly, I thought of the idea in the middle of the night. So Jaylee passed in March. Mills was born in February. Jaylee passed in March. And I thought of the idea in March, and I was like, I'm going to do something. I'm turning 4, like, I'm going to do something. I'm going to raise money. I don't know how, I've never done a fundraiser. I don't know how to do this. I turned 40 this year. Maybe I can like connect it to my birthday in some way. And it just like hit me. I'm like, I'm going to try to raise $40,000 for my 40th birthday. And it felt like a pipe dream. Like, it felt like one of those things that like you don't want to say out loud because you're going to become committed to it. And it took me a couple months to say it out loud. And I remember I was on a walk with my husband and I was like, I think I want to do a fundraiser. I think I want to do it for my 40th birthday. I think I want to try to raise $40,000. He was like, I had all of these ideas already. And he was like, feels like you really put a lot of thought into this. And I'm like, I have. I've thought, like, I haven't thought it out, all of it, but like, I think I want to do it. And if we're going to make it, if we're going to do it, we have to like commit, because I was like very set on it being tied to an event, to my 40th birthday. And honestly, I had a lot of pushback, even from family who meant well, discouraging me. My older sister, who I love, who's a support person for me, she told me it was a bad idea. She is a PTO officer at a successful high school in Columbus, Ohio. And she was like, 40,000 is too ambitious. Like, we deal with fundraisers all of the time, and 5,000 is like a good goal. Like 40,000 is too much. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table with her and being like, I don't care if I raise 5,000. I don't care if I raise 2. I'm going to put this out there. I'm putting a stake in the sand, and the number is 40. And So we set out with a big goal, and honestly, guys, it was terrifying. We launched it on my birthday, which was August 23rd, and the goal was to raise 40,000 by Rare Disease Day, which was February 28th. So we had 6 months to do this thing, and we had a 5K. We were planning a 5K, right? And that was going to be a part of it, was that we would have a 5K and we would raise money through the 5K. But we also assumed that some money would come in through donations, which it did. As Madeline mentioned, ours would definitely fall in the hybrid category, right? So we were raising money through donations, we raised money through sponsorships, but this was an event that was completely unknown. So sponsorships for it were like, it was kind of generosity sponsorships at that point, truly. All of that to say that like this will and could, depending on what you're doing, it might be scary at times and you are going to be like possibly stepping out of your comfort zone. But I also was solidly okay if we raised $1,000, which is what I told my sister at the table. I was like, if we only raise, no matter what we raise, I'm going to be happy with it because I believe we're making a difference, right? So what we ended up doing was a 5K and fun run on Ohio State University. And you can see that we raised funds through a wide variety of activities. We had donations, we had the actual ticket sales, we did a raffle, corporate sponsorships, we ended up doing a merchandise, a bunch of stuff. And we've done it twice now. So that we started it in 2023 and we had a second 5K in 24. And to date, we've raised over 150,000. So I also want to encourage you that it could go, better than you think it will, which is what happened in our case, right? It went substantially better than we thought it could. A few key learnings for us. One, connecting it to milestones if you can. So like the fact it was connected to my 40th birthday, we launched it on my birthday, and then we had a date in which we wanted to raise the funds by. Both of those things were helpful just for like storytelling. And then sharing Lo's story. We had never shared Lo's story, and it was hard, if I'm being honest. It was, again, like just one of those things that like I adore my daughter. And when I want to share her story, I would just want to share all of the best parts of her story because those like I am so thankful to be her mom and I treasure her. And like sharing about the hard parts is really hard. And like, so opening up was difficult, but that I think welcoming people into our world and allowing people to feel like they're walking in our shoes was part of the success because we were vulnerable. My husband and I were very vulnerable at multiple points of this, and that was hard. And we did that through multiple content routes. Through video, through creating a website, through social, getting our community involved. So we leveraged our network in multiple ways. My husband and I both were in marketing, and so we were connected in the community. We were an agency, so we knew a lot of businesses. So we leveraged our network, whatever your network is, and your network might be very different, right? But it's like leverage your network. Who do you know who might know someone? Because we knew a videographer, a photographer, someone in PR, and that might not be your world, but like you might know someone who has skills in those things, and asking for a donation of time and skill was super helpful. We were able to get a lot donated for our event. Like you'll see the venue itself got donated, food, local restaurants, water, bottled water, coffee, local coffee, like, and asking for donations for your event. Our community, another thing, just around our neighborhood, we put up flyers. Lo has this like really incredible Make-A-Wish zebra golf cart. Everyone knows our golf cart, right? But no one knew our story. We put up flyers around our neighborhood with the zebra golf cart and Lo, a picture of it, and a QR code to our website telling our story. And we had like 30 or 40 people from our neighborhood show up who we'd never met, who just knew us, like, from proximity. So like just getting creative with how you can bring people in. And then corporate sponsorships. If you know someone, especially small businesses, or Madeline mentioned corporate matching. We've had probably over $10,000 of donations through corporate matching, of just people who donated their time, and their companies match their donation. And so those have all been very helpful with our fundraiser. That's all I have.
Thank you so much for sharing, Sarah. I know that was so helpful. And if anyone was thinking about any questions they may have had, remember that you can put it into the chat, or you can also put it in the Q&A button down at the bottom of your screen. And we will definitely have time for Q&A later. So as we're going through, though, feel free to submit those throughout, so you don't forget later on what hey, I wanted to ask Sarah this. Go ahead and put that in now, and we can ask her in just a little bit. Our next panelist is Kelly Hobbs. Kelly is the Director of Community Engagement at Southern New Hampshire University, where she partners students and faculty with local nonprofit agencies. She is the mom to 3 boys, including GFPD Warrior Dylan Atticus Hobbs. Dylan passed away as an infant, and Kelly and her friends started the Great Mass BSEEK fundraising event in his memory. Kelly, we appreciate you being here to share with us, and I'm going to pass it over to you.
Hi, everybody. There's my boy. Let me tell you a little bit about the Great Massive BSEEK and, how it came to be, and hopefully it will help some of you that are thinking about how you could begin with a fundraiser. So Dylan, that little cutie in blue right there, was like many of us, didn't know that this disease even existed before Dylan was born. And we were somewhat lucky that he was diagnosed before leaving the hospital, and we were connected immediately to this organization. And so from the very beginning, it has been a supportive organization to us. And Dylan passed away at 6 weeks old, here at home with us. And when he passed away, we had a long sort of time of not wanting to do anything, really. We just sort of wanted to be and focus on my older son, who is not affected. And there came a point in time where I said, okay, I'm ready to honor Dylan and all of these other beautiful babies, and gave a lot of thought to what would make sense for me based on, my family and the sort of capacity that I felt that I had. And there's a local organization near me called the Audubon Center, and they exist in many communities, but the name of our Audubon Center is the Massabesic Audubon Center, and it is on Lake Massabesic in Manchester, New Hampshire. And so it's a small nature sanctuary, and for years I have been volunteering there. So about 10 years I volunteered, and I fed the raven. And the raven is a raven that was hit by a car and could no longer live in the wild. So lived in this like entrapment at the center, and I would volunteer and feed him but once a month, and would do other things there. But that was sort of my main task as a volunteer. And over the 10 years of doing that, and I would volunteer at, if there was events at the space, and it just became a special place to me. I worked there for a hot minute, but really my experience there was as a volunteer. And when Dylan passed away, my friends planted a magnolia tree in his memory at the Audubon, which you can see there, slightly blooming. And a bench was made in his memory with a lovely quote on it. And it sits at the base of the trail system for the Audubon. And so you can sit there and look over the beautiful field and trail system there. And it became a sanctuary, really, for me and my family. And so it was just the logical place for us to start, because of the connection, and thinking okay, how can I use this resource? How can I work with the Audubon to create this fundraiser? So that's how we chose the location. That's where we began. Um, and we thought, oh, there's so many, runs in our area and 5Ks, and what could we do that might be a little bit different? And we thought of this scavenger hunt idea. Um, and we didn't have a name or anything yet. And a friend called me one day and said, I have the best name for you. And he would call me like once a week with these ridiculous names. And finally, he called one week and was like, no, really, this one I like. And it was a Great Massabesic, because it's a scavenger hunt around Lake Massabesic. So that's sort of also sort of help focus us and think through, okay, we know this is going to be a scavenger hunt and it's going to be around Lake Massabesic. How do we want to focus this event or make it different? For me, it was creating an event that I knew would be a low cost event because I didn't have financial connections with organizations, or I just knew that it was going to be an event that had to be put on with the help of myself and my friends. And so using all of the connections I had was crucial. And you can see here, this is sort of how the Massabesic is uh, put together. We have different, you sign up as a team. We have a prize for like the best team name, and we always have these ridiculous team names that like a 2-year-old will decide they want to name their team this. And so it's always fun to like yell out the team name. Um, and then points for items that people pick up along the way, just like a scavenger hunt. And so we also hide little D's in the woods for Dylan, and the D's are a certain amount of points. And we have facts about the GFPD and facts about Zellweger syndrome around the trail system. So you can see here, this is the trail system, me and my family and some friends. We started small, as I said, and we probably will stay small. We'd love to grow a little bit, but the reality is, I think because of the kind of event that it is, in the small town that it's located in, we probably will stay small. And I like to think of us as small but mighty. And as you know, Katie and others have said, even if we're not raising, hundreds of thousands of dollars, I know that every dollar that I do raise is important. And we called on our connections to help. So I have a small planning committee, and it's just my friends at work. And we meet on occasion to talk about the event and plan for the event. As I work at a university, so I borrow the AV equipment from the university. I have a graphics class that I work with that designed the logo. Um, Volunteers in my office, which are student employees, will come and volunteer the day of. So I really pull on all of my volunteers that care. I mean, all of my connections that care about me and my family. We definitely utilize social media and websites, and those are free resources. And I found those to be the most helpful way for us to advertise what we're doing. And I have started sharing our story more. I know that may seem obvious, like, of course, you're going to share your story. But for me, as someone, I'm a pretty private person in some ways. And sometimes sharing my story, as all of you probably feel, it can be difficult. And you pick and choose when you want to share that story. Well, when you have a fundraiser, sharing the story really helps. And people want to give and support. And I have learned that along the way. And as Sarah mentioned, and Katie, Madeline mentioned, if you don't ask, you won't get. And that also may seem obvious, but I have learned to be a little bit more forthright with my requests and be open and honest and blunt about what it is we need to make the event a success and asking for those things. And I've been amazingly surprised at what has come my way. And again, finding something that we want to do. This place was special to us, and we made an event at a place that felt special to us with obviously with an event that is special to us. So those were our key takeaways for the Mass BC.
Thank you so much, Kelly. We really
Thanks.
appreciate you being here and sharing with us. And you're right, there's so much power in that statement of we're small but mighty. You've raised over $30,000 for the GFPD, and we appreciate you being here and sharing your experience with us. Next, we have Todd and Corinne Chapman. Todd is Assistant Vice President and Counsel in the Office of the Corporate Secretary for State Farm Insurance. Corinne is the Director of Data, Experience Studies, and Innovation for Life, Health, and Investment Planning Services, also for State Farm Insurance. Corinne has served on the Board of Directors for the GFPD in several functions, including Secretary, Treasurer, and Board Chair. Todd and Corinne live in Bloomington, Illinois, with their 2 children, Ellie and GFPD Warrior Max. The Chapman family launched Tee It Up for the GFPD, and Corinne and Todd are the co-founders of Max's Miles Foundation, a nonprofit organization that retrofits carts for children to assist them in meeting developmental milestone. Todd and Corinne, thank you both for being here with us today, and I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thanks so much, Katie. Good to see everybody tonight. As Katie mentioned, we are the parents of Max, who is now 11, a GFPD Warrior. With Max, we attended our very first GFPD conference back in 2015. And we were so inspired and moved and just overwhelmed by that experience that we were motivated pretty quickly to try to do something for the GFPD coming out of that. And so my dad and I are both big golfers, and we know a lot of golfers around the area. So we thought, well, let's put something together around golf. And so we started to put together Tee It Up starting in 2016. And I do want to acknowledge we're now going into our 10th year, which is really cool. We're really excited about that. And so we've grown and evolved, and things have changed and everything. So don't feel like everything I'm mentioning is something you would have to do in year one if you're putting together an event. We've certainly added to it as we've gone along. But our event takes place over really 2 days, which is really exciting. We have an evening reception the very first night. We hosted at a local brewery, which is a really awesome venue. We have a local musician who comes and plays some music and appetizers, and lots of just kind of fellowship and gathering there with family and friends. And then the next day is a full day at the golf course with 2 full sessions of golfers on the golf course. Usually have about 200 golfers or so throughout the day, which is just an awesome, fun day. We have some friends that travel from college and things like that to come get together, and that's turned into sort of a fun annual tradition, not only for our family and friends, but also for a lot of people in the community, both small businesses and other just people that like to support our story. So I want to let Corinne talk about some of the things we learned over the years.
Yeah, sure. And I think that this has been said by Kelly and Sarah, but just really wanted to reiterate, a lot of times this diagnosis comes with a level of helplessness for us as parents. I think that same sentiment is felt with your family and friends. Like, I think if you really think, like, sit back and think about it, they want to help you. They see your situation, they have empathy. And a lot of times these events can be the way that they help and support you going forward, and allows a little, like a level of empowerment that sometimes this disorder can take away. As Todd said, this event has really evolved, and it has to evolve. Our needs evolve. You heard Kelly say she had to take some time away and kind of heal before she was able to do anything. I think we all have these ebbs and flows where we're able to give a little bit more and a little bit less. And so we felt that with Tee It Up, it started as just a video of Max that it's still on YouTube. It has a song that pulls at the heartstrings. It's got pictures of Max. It tells our story. That's where we started. And even just with sharing that and kind of getting our friends to share it and putting it on social media, that was able to raise about $20,000 about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So that was an afternoon of editing videos together, really, and then just pushing it. It was with that momentum, though, and having told our story and finally being vulnerable to that level that kind of elevated us to an ability to launch an event, right? Telling your story is so important for bringing people along. So based on that momentum, we were kind of able to kind of get out of the gate just straight running. But I will say that we started that event, and we used to rent a venue. We would decorate that entire venue. We would cater in food. We'd bring in tablecloths. Like, it was this production. And we got maybe 6 years into that, and we thought, this is a lot of work. We have got to figure out how to make this sustainable, which is when we transferred it to the brewery. And the brewery does pretty much all of that. We just show up. I make a balloon arch every year. That's pretty much the extent. And that just made it so much more sustainable for us and what we're able to give with where Max is in his journey as well. So full permission to do that as well. One of the tips that we have learned, though, is a lot of people have not heard of the Global Foundation for Peroxisomal Disorders. So there is a need, and Sarah alluded to this as well, to kind of build that legitimacy around the GFPD and your story. And so, out of the gate, things to consider, like as they don't do all of this, is, logo. We established social media accounts. We had an event-specific email. Todd's dad carries business cards wherever he goes, and they look very professional. So it's these sort of things that just an understanding of, like, we're not the United Way, we're not St. Jude's. Like, there will probably be a level of just getting the message about the GFPD out there, but that's kind of the fun part, right? That's getting people on board for this amazing organization and kind of like getting them excited about something they might not have heard about before and they have no prior opinion about as well. The one thing I did want to emphasize is merch. If you do something, I cannot encourage you enough to get some legit merch that is fun and exciting, not just t-shirts, but things that people can wear. We both work remotely quite a bit, and we'll be wearing our Tee It Up on video, but so will a lot of our coworkers, because they've purchased Tee It Up gear throughout the events years, or we'll see they'll be on vacation, they'll be wearing Tee It Up gear, and it just perpetuates that legitimacy and it perpetuates the excitement around the event as well. And even if you don't do anything, sometimes just a merch sale with some sort of cute logo raises quite a bit of funds as well, just straight out of the gate with pretty low lift. The last thing I really wanted to emphasize is that the GFPD is here to help. We could not have done this without the GFPD being as organized and motivated and supportive as they've been. So if you feel like I don't know where to start, it's really just a matter of reaching out, because they'll get you 75% there, and then it's just you for the another 25.
Yeah, and on that note, one thing I forgot to mention, one of the things the GFPD does that's huge for our event, we host an online auction, which is kind of one of those hybrid type pieces that people can participate in throughout the country. The GFPD helps provide the software platform so that all the bidding takes place online. We can put the pictures and everything online. And we have friends and family throughout the country that can bid on stuff that we have here in our event here in Illinois. So that's a major, major piece of our event too.
Thank you so much, Todd and Corinne, for being with us. Such great information that everyone is sharing. Next, we will hear from Vicki Mag. Vicki obtained her Bachelor of Science from Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville and is a fifth grade teacher with more than 26 years of experience in education. She is mom to GFPD Warrior Kenna, and she has been a dedicated volunteer for the GFPD since its inception in 2010, contributing to various committees and roles in both in-person and virtual events. Vicki, we appreciate you being here, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I definitely feel like the odd man out after following those three wonderful families and all that they do for the GFPD. But this year, I created a Facebook fundraiser for Kenna's birthday. She was turning 16, and wow, just such a milestone birthday that I did not want to have to ask for diapers and batteries, which have always been our go-to answer when family and friends have said, what can we get Kenna for her birthday? Well, batteries for all her toys and she's still in diapers, so diapers would be a big help. So I was like, no, I am not going to ask for those things this year. So I decided to start the birthday fundraiser. It was very easy to get it started, just a couple clicks. You can definitely message Madeline and she can walk you through it if you need guidance. I suggested $16 for Kenna's Sweet 16. And to keep the theme going, I set a goal of $1,600. We ended up having, 63 donors online, 17 donors in person. The in-person donations just came from family and friends who gave money and birthday cards. We live in a small community in Southern Illinois, and I was getting gas, and I had someone pull up beside me and say, "Oh, here's $20. I saw your fundraiser for Kenna." I was shopping at Walmart getting weekly groceries, and I had a couple moms of some students, a student I have in class this year and a former student who, whipped out their wallet and counted out $16 or gave me a 20 or whatever they felt like they could give. So, and then, cards and our mailbox showed up. So all of these in-person donations, then I just forwarded to the GFPD. So to kick off your fundraiser, I would definitely say, don't wait for the actual birthday or event. Kenna's birthday is October 14th. So I aim to have the fundraiser throughout the month of October. After all, I think our Warriors definitely deserve to have a birthday month instead of just a birthday. It can be helpful, like I said, to suggest a specific donation amount. Many of our family and friends, would gladly contribute $16 for Kenna. I believe this approach definitely, reduces the pressure, especially when the donation amount is directly tied to the purpose of the fundraiser. I know when I'm scrolling through social media and see a fundraiser, if a suggested amount is given, I usually, log on, do it, and it's done. If there's not a suggested amount, then I sit there and think, okay, what would be a good amount? I don't want to, overthink this, but I don't want to be cheap. I don't want to give too little. And so sometimes then, as a PBD mom, you might be like, okay, moving on to the next thing and not donate at all. So I think more willing to give if there is a suggested donation. Before I uploaded the fundraiser, I added a, cute picture of Kenna, and I just wrote a few paragraphs explaining why this birthday was so special. Like others have said, definitely pull on those heartstrings. It was a tough birthday for me. Birthdays, all of our birthdays are special, but this one, even as it was approaching and my husband Shannon was like, what are we going to do for Kenna's 16th birthday? I mean, it was hard for me to even plan this birthday because it's one of those that you definitely, when you get that devastating diagnosis, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be, sharing a 16th birthday fundraiser for Kenna. So I made the first initial donation of $16 just to get it started and get it out there, and then asked a few close friends and family to share it. And then I saw where it was shared about 25 times. So, just get it started and the magic will go from there. So I'm extremely proud of the $2,200 that we raised for Kenna's birthday for the GFPD. It's important not to think that your fundraising efforts can't make a meaningful impact just because you believe your total might be too little. As you can see, small requests like $16 can definitely make a big impact. So again, like Kelly said, small but mighty. So, will I hope to in the future, plan a in-person fundraiser of some kind. But for right now, our family is just not able to do that. I enjoy going to Tee It Up though. So that's one of our highlights of the year. So I enjoy going to Bloomington and supporting Todd and Corinne and theirs. And like I said, hope, future, I definitely will, something will come to me and I will definitely do that. But if you're like me and until that time comes, start small and do a Facebook fundraiser. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vicki. We really appreciate you sharing. And you're so right that small but mighty, what like Kelly said, and it really does add up. Every dollar does count, and all of us can make a difference together. So we appreciate you sharing about Kenna's fundraiser on Facebook. And before we move to Q&A with our panelists, Madeline's going to highlight some of the great resources available to all of you, as well as the support the GFPD can provide. I know you've heard a little bit from each of the families that I've shared, but she's going to kind of list some of those out in a little bit more detail.
I don't know about y'all. I'm always re-energized when I get to hear from families, and especially their passion and inspiration behind why we all are here. So my heart is warmed tonight. The GFPD is here to help. Your success is our success, and we all can uplift each other. So we're here to help, as Todd said, do that 75% so you have a 25% lift. So we have software you can use. We try to have an in-person presence, excuse me, if there's a golfing event, the 5K, we try to be there or have our board member there, or we know community members nearby can attend. Whether you need help with setup or you just need someone to help take pictures, we can try and do that. We will, of course, promote on social media as much as we can to help boost engagement. We can help with any graphic design, creating that letter to request for support, whether someone donates water for your event or they donate $2,000 to help you make the event happen. We're here to help facilitate all of that. And other resources include myself, but we also have a brand new page for supporting the GFPD. So on this QR code, it'll take you over to ways to give. There's a resources page, so you can see a fundraiser starter kit. So if you're like, oh, this is piquing my interest, start there, take a gander through it and shoot me a message. I would love to chat. And we also have the flyer on there that I referenced previously. You can print this out and pop it at your desk at work, or if you have a connection, share it around a school or around your community to say, hey, simple way to scan and support. And of course, I'm not the only one you have as a resource. You, of course, have our creative team coordinator. She's great for making sure we stay within brand guidelines and especially social media engagement. And of course, all of the families on this call are wonderful resources. If you're trying to brainstorm something or say, hey, I'm thinking about this, what would you do? What did you find helpful when you were planning Massabee Seek or you were planning Kenna Sweet 16 fundraiser? So tap into your resources. We are here to help, and every question is a good question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madeline. And if anyone missed any of the QR codes, I know that was just a quick recap. No worries. We, put them in the chat so you can grab the link even if you missed the QR code. But we're going to make sure that we share everything that we're sharing today with you afterwards. So please don't worry about missing anything that we're sharing on the screen or in the chat. We're going to make sure that anybody that's here has access to all of these great tools and resources. It is now my pleasure to welcome all the panelists back to answer any questions that you might have about what they have shared, or maybe something that we haven't discussed yet. So again, you can submit your questions using the Q&A button option below your player window here. Like I always say, we look like Hollywood squares, but down below there, you will see it just says Q/A. You can click on that, and you can also submit questions anonymously that way. But Ryan and I are also monitoring the chat box, so you can pop something right into the chat box, and we will ask our panelists. And we have a few questions coming in. And Vicki, this one is actually specific for you. So somebody's asking, were you able to give the GFPD any information on the specific donors? And Madeline, you may want to actually chime in. I know that you talked a little bit about that. So, and that really is going to speak, I think, to that link, that extra link. So if you and Vicki maybe want to answer that together.
We got a message from Vicki saying, hey, I'm having a fundraiser and you should be seeing some checks come in. We said, amazing, we'll keep an eye out. So as they were coming in, we were entering them, making sure the donors were thanked. And we looked on Facebook to see, oh my gosh, it's a Facebook fundraiser. Great. And we could see that people contributed, but we don't have all of their contact information. Now there's some convoluted backend stuff where we can log in because Facebook utilizes PayPal to move the donations from Facebook to the GFPD. So we can see some information like their name and the amount they gave and the time at which they donated, but there's not direct contact information. So when we want to reach out to them and say, thank you so much for your gift, we don't have an email address for that. But here's the good thing. Vicky knows people and she can push them in our direction again. And that's why we want to encourage using a link that GFPD can give you, but we're not discouraging Facebook fundraisers. If that is the easiest thing for you to do, more power to you. I'm not going to say no to that. Saying, maybe reach out to us and we can provide you a link so we can capture all that pertinent info.
Thank you so much. And we also have a question right here in the chat that I think we can maybe have some of our families share. You know, how did you approach local businesses for sponsorships? What was your approach? Todd and Corinne, did you want to?
Yeah, Katie, I'm happy to jump in on this one. So the one thing that we do is we always like to leave something behind when we go to a local business and ask them to participate, whether that's a flyer or a business card, just something physical that you can kind of hand off that has a little bit about the event. And your style may vary, but I always like to just say, hey, there's an upcoming local community event and want to know if you'd like to participate, and something to that effect. And, you know, pretty quickly I've learned not to be afraid of anyone saying no. You know, I almost expect to hear no. And then if you get a yes or you get a maybe or I'll take a look at it, that's a great result. The other tip I'll give is that you always want to present the businesses what they will get out of it. You know, they certainly want to help, they want to do good things, but if you can tell them, you know, their logo will be on a big sign at the event, or you'll be on our website, or you'll be our official dinner sponsor, or whatever it may be, you know, that always helps so they see what's in it for them in addition to doing just kind of a good, friendly community deed.
It also helps if you can accept like multiple different kinds of donations. So for ours, yes, we'll take cash donations, but we also take in-kind donations for the action. You know, having that ability, granted that obviously adds complicated logistics sometimes, but it does help with the success rate for sure.
And we may have some that may not understand when you say in-kind donations. Could you share a few examples for our audience members?
Sure. I mean, I think, you know, we have like a yoga store, just giving a yoga mat, and then we can auction it off, that sort of thing.
Even gift cards.
Gift cards. Yeah. We're always surprised that the gift cards go for more than they're worth, but I think people want to donate, but they also kind of want to get something too. So you can certainly work that angle as well.
Perfect. Thanks so much for sharing. What are some helpful ways that families or any of our community members would be able to help support your fundraiser? Maybe somebody doesn't have the time just yet to host a fundraiser, but they really want to get behind supporting the ones that already exist, like yours and several others. Is there anyone that would like to share, you know, what's something that others are doing that are really helpful to you?
Yeah, so for us, Katie, I mean, you know, like I said, we have our auction, and certainly GFPD families are welcome to bid on some of the cool items that we have too. We've also had a number of GFPD families buy some of the t-shirts and stuff that we put up for sale. The proceeds all go back to the GFPD ultimately. And so it's a fun way to get some different GFPD styled gear and merch if you want to.
Yeah, and our GFPD families have hobbies. If you crochet, if you needlepoint, any of those things can easily be incorporated into our auction and usually do even especially well because they've been donated by a GFPD parent, and people appreciate that.
Just going off of what Corinne was saying too, like we have had a couple other separate fundraisers that ultimately were raising money for Hope with Low, but they were like small different things. So my nephew's 6th grade class had a cookie bake fundraiser that they did for Hope with Low that raised $700, which was incredible and super unexpected. And then we had another family friend who did like a cycling class fundraiser that raised $1,000, and so there are also kind of like spin-off options that you could be like, however you're connected or whatever you're into, and that could possibly help raise funds, but without still being connected to like the either our fundraisers or just the GFPD, but those can still be very effective too.
Great. Thank you so much, Sarah. And then we have an anonymous question that was asked was, how do you combat giving fatigue? Big question. I think we're going to wrap out our Q&A with that one. That is a difficult one.
That is an evergreen question in the nonprofit sector, especially just coming off an election year when folks are feeling the donor fatigue a little. And there's not a silver bullet to it. It is a layered approach. And some of it is one really great donor stewardship. So that's how we say thank you to our people who help us. So how are we making sure we show appreciation in ways that matter to the people who volunteer, to the people who gave online, to the folks who donated items to the auction, to our friends and family who helped share these posts on social media? Like, what does that look like? For some folks, I know they've done postcards after the event. Say, thank you so much. We're so glad you were able to join us. See you again next year. And sometimes it's a phone call or a text. The other part of that is making sure that we give them being potential donors, various ways to give. So Vicki noted on something helpful of making a suggested donation level, but also they don't have to give a direct donation. Maybe they get a t-shirt or a friendship bracelet, and it doesn't necessarily feel like a donation to them, but like, I'm getting something out of this, even though that action is still helping us in the long run. And the fact of the matter is we just got to keep loving on our donors and say thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to our story and showing up for our warriors and showing up for our community.
Couldn't agree more. I said that was going to be the last one, but I do think this is important, one that just came through. So I wanted to add it in. Is there more information that we can share with potential donors that donations would go to? And I just wanted to acknowledge this question because I think it's so important just to recognize that working with the GFPD, being in contact with Madeline will allow her to have that relationship and know who those donors are. And she's going to be able to share that information. So if you want to just take maybe 60 seconds to speak to that, and then we're going to wrap this up and share one more slide.
Yes, there's on our new refreshed webpage, Support the GFPD, there's a tab for impact. So on that impact button, it shows how all of the donations from the past year have helped the GFPD accomplish a lot of milestones, put on a conference, hosted programs, made sure we stay connected with our scientific research partners. We also have a one-pager on our website of who is the GFPD, what do we do? So that is information you can share. And if there's something you're looking for, like specific, like I want to give them a postcard, talk to me. We can whip something up for you.
Thank you so much. I know that was so important. I couldn't leave that one off. And then for anyone who may have missed it, we have that link in the chat. You can grab that. But when you leave this webinar, it's actually going to hopefully direct you right to that website that she was just referring to that's been updated and has a lot of great information, tools, resources, all of the little flyers and the booklet that she shared about on the slides. Everything is accessible on the website. I just want to take a moment to thank everybody again. Madeline, Todd, Corinne, Kelly, Sarah, and Vicki, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to share your fundraising experiences with all of us and just really shine a light on how these small steps really can and do make an impact. We appreciate each of you, and I can't not recognize all of the families out there who maybe weren't a part of this webinar, but we know you're out there and that you have continued to raise awareness and funds to help the GFPD further its mission to improve the lives of individuals with peroxisomal disorders. Together, we really are making a difference. To our audience on the screen are many ways that you can make sure you are staying up to date on all things happening at the GFPD, including webinars like this, fundraising events, and more. You can do so by visiting our website, following us on social media, and also you can stay up to date by joining our community directory to receive important updates. There's a QR code there. Thank you again, all of you, for being here, and we hope you have a great rest of your evening.